guys, welcome back to another episode of Faith Over Fear podcast. We are super excited because today we're going to be talking about prayer. And we just want to, emphasize the importance of prayer because it is our way to talk to God.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it is the perfect way for us to be able to connect with him, for him to speak to us, and just for us to kind of like, at least for me, it pours out. Yes. It dissolves any stress, it dissolves any anger, any frustration. And, what better way than, just pouring out to God.
Yes.
So I guess for us to kind of like start off, tell us your experience with like prayer.
All right. So prayer is literally what builds your relationship.
Right.
Like
yes.
when you first meet someone, you talk, mm-hmm. and the talking, you're like, oh, well, like we have this in common or this, and it goes from there, like, so a conversation, that is what builds a relationship. So prayer is that with God.
Yes.
So I love that you asked me this because I feel like when I first started coming back, I started with prayer. And before I came back, I would pray, but I didn't have a relationship with God. Like I'm being honest, I didn't. So I started praying, but I remember at first it was kind of like not awkward, but it was kind of like, are you listening? Like, am I just talking to myself? But I knew he was real, but it's just like the thoughts.
Right.
But I would just talk to him. And I was like, I want to seek you, I want this. And I was like, make a way. And I was like, I'm surrendering my life to you right now, like make a way. And I would just talk to him. And there was a season in my life where I was door dashing. So when you DoorDash, you're in your car like a lot, and you're just driving around. And this was at the very beginning of like God tugging at my heart. So it was literally me and God in the car. Like I was talking to him about everything and I'm like, help this person tip me good, and it was just like a conversation. It was like I was with my friend, and I would blast the worship music like 101.7. Yeah. Like I was literally like crying and all the emotions, but it was like me and God in the car. Like my car was like my secret place,
Right. Yeah.
And that's where it started. Like I would just talk to him and talk to him and talk to him, and he would just show up like left and right, and I was like, wow, like that was you, like you were right there, like you're the only person I told. And so I feel like that's what prayer is, like it builds a relationship. But I feel like a lot of the times we want to be like, oh, because I asked my sister today, it's kind of funny because it was literally today, I was like, do you pray? And she was like, well, yeah. She's like, I don't like sit down and pray, but she's like, I talk to God throughout my day. And I'm like, well, that's prayer,
Yeah.
But I feel like we think prayer is like, oh, you have to sit down and like have this whole structure,
Right.
But it's just a conversation,
Right.
And Eunice said this one. She's like, you pick up the phone in the morning and you just, I heard it from her. And she's like, you just keep talking to him all day, like you don't stop.
Right.
So it's like a ongoing conversation with God,
Yeah.
And sometimes we're like, oh, like we have to like set a time, which you like, that's good,
Right.
If you're going to pray deeper, if you're going to go like before going to sleep, or in the morning, that's good. But I feel like prayer is like an ongoing conversation with God.
Right. No, that's true. And I feel like the same thing with like my experience with prayer. It is such a great form to talk to him about my day, ask for, advice, ask for guidance. Just like you said, like you're talking to a friend, you're talking to your father. In my situation, like that's how I go about it. And for me, like at first I started off with praying just at church. I thought that was like, enough, I pray, and then I go about my day. But then like slowly but surely, as I was getting more and more into his presence, I realized like, oh, like this is a friendship where I need to take you with me, not just at the church,
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I started to connect with God through prayer at my house, at the car, like wherever the opportunity was, and I felt it, then, I went for it in that aspect. But yeah, like I feel like it's just something that, whatever you have in your mind, in your heart, God already knows it, but he wants to hear it from you.
Yes.
That's the beautiful thing, that he wants you he wants you to say it.
He wants to be included,
Yes,
you know?
he wants to be included, because it's a two-way thing, that's how he knows that, like, oh, okay. And also it kind of shows us a way, like, what a gentle God we have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because he can make it known, like, oh, I already know. No, he's like, hey, like, I will listen to you, because that's what human nature is. We love it when someone listens to us.
Yes.
And our God, he listens to us, like, deeply, and so that's also like a beautiful thing, because you can tell him anything and he wouldn't be scared of nothing, because he already knows.
Yeah, and he doesn't judge or like tell somebody else or like make you feel bad. You know, he just loves you and he wants to hear it.
Exactly. Like if it's something that you're struggling, like he's not gonna be like, oh no, yeah, that's bad, or get away from me. No, he's gonna be like, okay, I can help you. I know.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's so beautiful that we are able to connect with him through that in prayer. And then like the notes that I will be reading off of, it's actually from Brother Emmanuel, and also like other people in district that have been helping out with these conferences that we've been having for our district prayer. So I'll be reading off of that. So in the notes here, there is an introduction, and it says, prayer is not something you check off your list to do, nor it is a chore, but a necessity. If we do not have a prayer life, then we have nothing. At the end, standing before the Lord, it does not matter your degree, position, title, gifting, nor talent, but it is your relationship with God. How do we build our relationship with God? It is through consecration, which includes prayer. Prayer with God enables us to fulfill what we were called to do: our walk with God, winning souls, making disciples, and serving our ministry and gifting. So here he has, there's developments in a prayer life. So developing a prayer life, which is find a place of prayer, find a time to pray, find the right channel of prayer, open up windows, times of prayer, adapt a pattern of prayer. So we did just mention that there is no right or wrong way to pray, which is correct. That's true. You are just talking to God. So we're not going to say like, oh, you need to do this, because there's no structure. The notes that we have here is just basically, I guess, just kind of like Crystal said, getting deeper.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I feel like we want us to encourage you to go deeper and to seek God in a way that, sometimes a casual talk can't present, to you if you just talk throughout the day, like at work or whatever the case may be. So that's why, like with these notes, you may think like, oh, this is a structured thing. It is, but because even though, he did mention, since there's no right or wrong way, but there is a better way to pray.
Yes, I was going to say that.
And so with find a place of prayer, it means pretty much, like a prayer closet, a prayer room where it's just you and God, and there's like nothing else that can distract you. It's not like a public place. It's somewhere where it's like I said, just you and God. And then also find a time to pray. So that could either be in the morning, that can be through midday, that can be in the afternoon, at night, whatever works for you, because I know that we all have busy schedules with work or school, whatever the case may be. So as long as you've kind of like stop a moment for you to just like fully like concentrate on like pouring out to God, then it's something that, he's going to give back to you in that time. Number 5, adapt a pattern of prayer. So it kind of just like, making it something that it's a part of you.
Yes.
So like making a pattern means that like just kind of like you have a set in time of going to work. You have a set in time to go to bed. You have a set in time to eat. So the same thing with prayer, we have to have like a set in time to when we want to connect with God in a more deeper sense, and that's what we want. Like, this is why we want to make this video, because I know that, we are able to pray to God, in our drive to work or being at work or whatever the case may be. But we want to encourage something deeper with God. Yes. We want you to see what we see. We want you to feel what we feel in your own personal way with God. So being able to establish these 3 things, which is finding a place to pray, finding a time to pray, and creating that pattern, you will be able to see something more than just a simple casual conversation.
Yes. And I feel like it's hard. It's hard to pause your busy day.
Yes.
And sit still and just make time for God,
Yes.
And me and my sister had that conversation, because sometimes we're like, go, 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 but just sit and make time for God. you know, because yeah, like you can talk to him in the car on the way to work, you know how you were saying, but sitting down, like pausing everything and just sitting in his presence, like that's life changing, you know. And also, sorry, kind of like you were saying, like there's casual conversations and then there's serious conversations, kind of like with a friend, you know, like we're joking around sometimes, but when we're getting down to business, we're getting down to business, you know. So that's how it is with God. Like yeah, you can casually talk to him and ask him to help you throughout your day, but get down deep and not dirty, get deep, you know, like tell him everything, like get in there and be like, you know what, like this is going on, like the things that you would normally not tell people because you don't even want to admit them to yourself, you know, because you're like, but that's what he wants. He already knows what's in your heart. He like, and if you want to be healed or freed from that, like bring it to God, because he's gonna free you from it.
Because I feel like
it's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable. And then also there's going to be a moment where those casual prayers won't be enough anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's going to be a time, just kind of like if, let's say that me and you, all we talk about is just like surface level things, like, oh, like our outfits, for example. But if we don't talk about things that maybe you might need help with or I might need help with, then our friendship is just going to stay like this to the point where it's like, we might start distancing each other because there's going to be someone else that I can have those conversations, but not with you. So we're not going to decide to hang out. It's something that is going to be super like superficial. Like, and that's the thing. That's the same thing with God. Like, you know, if you just stay in that position of just having a casual conversation with God, then I feel like you're going to start distancing yourself from God, because the enemy's going to bring thoughts into your mind where it's like, there's nothing more to it. You know what I mean? To the point that maybe you feel that God's not listening, to the point where you feel like nothing's going on. But in order for something to go on, like for example, if I have a problem, you know, and let's say that I go to Crystal, nothing's going to happen if like we don't have that conversation, if we don't go deeper into that conversation. I won't get help, you know, maybe she won't be able to give me that advice. And the same thing with God. If you don't talk to him, if you don't get deeper, then he won't be able to talk to you. He won't be able to give you that peace that you need if you just keep it of like, oh, I'm just gonna say it in my drive to work. But it does happen, like, you know, whenever I drive to work, I've actually found myself you know, pouring out, like I'm crying and everything. There's like this meme that says like, what the other, like it's like someone like looking like weird because they're just seeing you like pour out and like worshiping all that. So that's like it does happen, but I feel like that only happens if you already created a prayer life in your private moment. You know what I mean? So that's why like I want to encourage you that if you want to see more of God, if you want to see something deeper and you want to receive that help in that conversation, then go deeper into prayer and establish that, and don't be afraid to tell him like anything. Like he already knows it, so why be embarrassed about something that he already knows, you know?
And it's good to acknowledge these things, because I feel like a lot of the times our pride doesn't want to let us like be like, oh, you're actually thinking that, you know, like that was you, you know, or like when you have something against someone, you're just kind of like, you know, and you don't want to tell God because you feel bad, you know, but that's literally what frees you. But you know, like I feel like you can kind of see like the warfare behind it. Like the devil's gonna try to keep you from talking to God about it, but like talk to God about it. Talk to him about all the ugly things, you know, like just do it. Like it's literally life changing.
Yeah, it really is. And so we want you guys to see all the life changing things that God can provide in your life with going deeper into that prayer, you know, into your prayer room, you know. So that's why like there's even this movie that's called Prayer War. I don't know if you, I think that's War Room. No, I think it's War Room. It's really good. So I highly recommend for you too, Crystal, to watch it.
I have a little testimony about prayer that happened like, it was not exactly. It was like last week after we filmed.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, I want to say first of all, like when you have a prayer life, like with God, it's really good. But I feel like it's really easy to get comfortable in where you are, and then you kind of like, or this happened to me. Like I would kind of, I guess I stopped talking to him as much as I used to, and it started to reflect in my life. Like
Right.
I wouldn't see him as much as I used to, you know, like in everything, because before I would talk to him about everything, and then I kind of stopped for a little bit, not on purpose. It just kind of like I got into
Yeah.
like a routine. And then, well, that's what I was finding myself in that place again. Not like really bad, not as bad as the first time, but it, you know, it was kind of happening.
Right.
And so after we filmed last week, I had to get an oil change. So I was like, all right. And I told my mom, I was like, come with me. And she's like, no. And I was like, why? And she's like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, just come with me. And she's like, no. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I'll just go by myself, I guess. So then I'm going to get an oil change. And in my car, I had something hanging in the front because it was hanging because my uncle took the part off and then he didn't put it back on.
Right.
And he's a busy man, so he wasn't getting it done. And I was like, that's kind of ugly, you know? And so I was thinking, and then también there's a part in my car at the bottom, like something's messed up with it, with the drain pad, for y'all that know cars, a drain pad plug. So the place I go to get an oil change, they told me come back here because we put a temporary in. So if you go somewhere else, they're not gonna know what to do, you know? So my siblings, they were like, oh, they raised their prices, like don't go there, they're gonna overcharge you. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do, you know? I was like they told me to come back here, and I've been coming here, but they're saying that they're gonna rip me off. And so I was like, since I was alone and I was in my car, I was like, Lord, like, show me where to go. Like, do I go to the one I've always gone to, or do I go to this other place they're telling me to go to, you know?
Right.
And I was like, give me like the courage to tell them to put the part on my car, since the thing was like hanging. I was like, give me the courage to do that, you know? And then that was it. Like, I just was kind of telling him, and then I just showed up to the one I always go to. I didn't really think about it. I just pulled in. And then I was like, all right. And I pull in, and they're doing my oil change, and I'm in the waiting area, and my siblings are like, you shouldn't have gone there. They're going to like overcharge you. And I was like, I feel like deep down in my heart, I was like, they're not.
Right.
I was like, there's no way. Like, I literally prayed about it. Like, there's no way, you know? But I feel like they kept like, nah, you shouldn't have gone there. And my brother's like, Crystal, don't go back there. And I was like, okay. And then, so that was that. And then when I get up, because he's like, oh, it's done. I was like, all right. And he goes to charge me, and he was like, I'm going to give you an $8 discount for blah, blah, blah. And then he told me the total, and it was literally what I always pay. And I was like, okay, but they've been getting ripped off, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like, all right, you know, thank you, God. And then when I was walking out, I saw one of the workers looking at the part of the car that was kind of hanging, and he was talking to the guy that did my oil change. And I was like, hey, I was like, y'all think y'all can put the part on? I was like, it's in my trunk. And they're like, oh, yeah. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, God literally, like, did that because, you know, like, what are the odds that they're talking about it, and it gave me an opportunity to tell them, you know? But I'm like, what if I wouldn't have prayed about it? What if I wouldn't, like, I would have gone overcharged and I wouldn't have gotten my part, you know? Like, it was just like, but not even that. Like, that was amazing in itself, you know? And he literally made my whole day. Like, I was like, he heard me. Like, my car's fixed now. I have an oil change. I didn't get ripped off. And I'm like, this is amazing, you know? And through that whole process, I was going to get a coffee. I wanted coffee, you know? But my mom, she's like, me traes tomate? She's like, bring me tomatoes and onions. And I was like, okay. And they called me. They were waiting for them. So I was like, oh, like, I can't get coffee because I'm already taking forever, you know? And in the town that I live in, there's like nothing there. So I was in the other town over, and I was like, well, there's coffee here, you know? But there was no time, so I didn't go. And then I was driving home, and we have like a little convenient grocery store, you know? So I went to the store, and I grabbed the tomatoes and the onions. And in the town that we live in, there's like, they open like a little coffee truck.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But usually they only open from like 6 to 11. And it was like 4. So when I was going, I literally saw that the coffee truck was opened. And I was like, what? You know? So I went and I got a coffee. But I'm like, wow, like, not only did God like allow me not to get ripped off, fix like my car, you
Yeah.
know, I didn't even pray for
Yeah.
coffee, but he knew I wanted a
Yeah.
coffee and the truck was
Yeah.
open and I was just kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like because I included him in my life, because I
Yeah.
talked to him about it, and like he paid attention to all the
Yes.
details.
Yes.
Like even
Yeah.
my said wanting
Yeah.
coffee, and I'm like, he has so many other things to
Yes.
worry about. Like, you know, I
Yeah.
was like, wow. Like I had such a great day. I literally got home and I was telling my mom,
Yes.
and I was like,
Aw.
it was so good. But I'm like that's how important it is, you know, to include him.
even in the little things that
Like, who cares if
Yeah.
there's something hanging on my car? Like,
Yeah.
you have bigger things to do. But
Yeah, but he cares every single detail, and
Yeah.
that's like literally the perfect example of taking him throughout your day.
yes,
Everywhere. He's literally like your friend, just kind of like I relate to you where I'm like, I want to do something that I don't want to do, like car things or going to an office. And I told him, I was like, oh, come with me. And like, usually they don't want to go. And so like, that's what God is for you. Like if you don't want to do life alone, bring him along, and he's literally going to be someone that can help you out. If you
Yeah.
want to feel accompanied, if you want to feel that you have that support, that's God right there. And that's
Yeah.
literally the perfect example. Like just tell him like, oh, like I'm having a hard day, or like help me do this, help me do that. And then
Yeah.
he just does it, and then sometimes he doesn't because it builds character.
Yeah. No, and I feel like sometimes some people may be like, oh, like that's just a coincidence, like, you know, that
Yeah.
wasn't God. But I feel like there's no such thing as
Yeah,
coincidences.
there's not.
Like there's
Yeah.
not, like that was God. I know it
Yeah.
was God, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy because at the beginning of my walk, like I would see God like that everywhere because I was talking to him like that
Right.
regularly, you know?
Yeah.
But I kind of stopped. But then the moment that I did it again, like he was right there.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was just like
Yeah.
even the coffee. You know, I don't know. He's just so amazing.
No, and I love that. And I feel like I'm going to share a little bit of my testimony from this week as well. It's like a opposite from you. I was having a really bad day. So this was actually yesterday. Yeah, Friday. So we're recording on a Saturday, and then this happened on a Friday. I was just having a bad day since the morning. Like it was just a punch after another, and then going home, and then like it was just so much that, and as soon as I walked in, I like threw my stuff on the floor and I just kneeled down and started praying. And I was pouring out. I was telling God, like, help me. I was like, it was just a really great moment that I needed, and God like helped me out in that situation. But I feel like I also praised him because apart from having like a really good like having a really good moment of like, just telling him like, I need you, like I'm surrendering to you, because sometimes, like, I'm not gonna lie, like there has been moments where I like to pray in the morning, I like to pray at night, but I started to do like a prayer like as soon as I got home, and I stopped it because I felt like I was too busy. And then like while I was praying, I kind of felt God telling me like, oh, I miss these moments. But sometimes he has to make it seem like, hey, like make you realize like I don't know if you may think that it sounds wrong, but sometimes God allows situations so you can have a connection with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not something that's bad, but it's something that now it's going to develop you. Now I know, like I learned from that situation. It wasn't just like, oh, it was horrible. Like, no, it was things that I had to learn from.
Yes.
And then also I had a moment with God, and what better than that? And so there was something else that I wanted to say with that, but I guess you can say that like after that, everything just kind of like felt better. Oh, yes, I remember. And then after that, there was also a preaching. So there's this pastor, I think I mentioned him, but his name is Pastor Jerry Flowers. And I've been listening a lot to his sermons. And then because I like to listen to preachings either in the morning or like after showering. And so I was looking for one because, like I said, it was a hard day. So it was a good prayer, but I still needed more. So I was looking for like a preaching in his channel, and I saw one that said stress management. And I was like, perfect. This is exactly what I need. I clicked it. Wow. Like, it was so powerful. I'm going to try to link it or at least put the name on description because it was so good. Like, it was literally like God speaking to me, just kind of like you said, like God was literally like, what I was going through that day, God was literally talking to me. And in the restroom, I was like, amen. I was raising my hands. I was like, like just like if it was like if I was in a service, like it was that good.
Awesome.
And it was just like direct, like talking back. And I felt like it was from earlier, me telling him, it was like him
Yeah.
responding back to me.
Wow.
And so I was like, so you see, like there's moments kind of like Crystal where it's like you have a really great day, or there's moments with me that you have a really bad day, but in both of those moments, God is there. So praise
Yes.
him.
Yes. And prayer is literally life changing. And sometimes we're
Yes,
like, was he even listening? But he literally is, you
he
know?
is.
He's always listening.
And he would demonstrate it like either that day, in 2 months from now, a week from
Yeah.
there. But trust me, like God responds,
Yes.
and sometimes, in order for him to respond to you, because this is where I'm going to lead to, you kind of have to have an open ear
Yeah,
while
I
you're
was gonna
praying.
say you have to have eyes to see and ears
Yes.
to hear, you know, because if you're not like willing and open to like see it, you're gonna miss his response. And there's this song that I've been listening to. It's called hold on, let me find it because it's so good. It literally has got me through this week. It's called "Don't You Give Up on Me" by Brandon Lake.
Oh, okay.
And it's like it's literally like if God is singing the song to you and he's like I've answered every time, but you just sometimes you didn't hear it.
Wow.
And he's like, but I know that it's hard, you know? And I was like,
Wow.
like
The
literally.
fact that he said, I know that it's hard, like that makes it feel
Yeah.
like he understands me. And it's not like he's not condemning us of like, hey,
Yeah.
you didn't listen. Like, no, like you didn't listen, but I know that it's hard. That's why you didn't listen. So God is just amazing.
Dude, let's cry.
I know.
No, but also I was going to say, sometimes we go through the hard times because we either get comfortable or whatever, you know, and the hard times push us closer to God.
Yes.
Like if you would have had a good
Yeah.
day, you wouldn't have prayed that midday prayer that
Yeah.
you've been trying
I
to
know.
develop, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Yeah.
and I feel like sometimes like this week was really hard for me, and I was just like, my mind was racing
Yeah.
like a lot of stuff, and I
Yeah.
was just kind of like, I talked to God about it, and I was like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. Like, I don't want to feel like this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why is this happening? Like, I don't understand, you know? And I was just bawling and bawling and bawling and literally bawling like a lot.
Right.
And then yesterday, at our English service, the preaching, literally God was speaking straight into the exact situation. And it was Orlando preaching. I'm always talking about Orlando. But he was like, he said, there's a verse, I don't know what the verse is, but it's like, you pour it out at night, like cry it out, but joy comes in the morning, you know? And he's like, sometimes you have to like let it all out at night, and then in the morning, like it's better. And he's like, but like leave it there.
Right.
Because if you keep feeding all of that stuff, it's going to become bad.
Right.
And it's crazy because I literally had a night that I was bawling my eyes out. Like I was crying so bad. Like it was really, really bad, like really bad. And I was just like, what the heck is going on, you know?
Yeah.
And then the next day in the morning, I was fine. And he was literally preaching that. And I was like, and it's crazy because I didn't talk to anyone about it. And usually I have people to talk to, but I was like just talking to God. So it was that much more special.
Right.
Like Orlando did not know about my situation,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I was literally bawling, front row seat bawling. But God literally spoke to my situation and like the whole preaching.
Right.
And I was just like, wow, like prayer is so important. It's so important to bring everything to him because he's going to answer.
Right.
And I knew what to do. I knew, don't feed whatever is going on. Like you already had your night of crying. Like, let it go.
Yeah, let it go.
And the title of the message was Peace Be Still. Like the song. The song is so good.
I need
too.
to listen to it. I haven't heard it.
Girl,
You Brandon Lake, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's a different one.
Oh, wait.
There's two. No, but yeah, like Peace Be Still too. And I was like, wow, like he gave me peace. And I don't have control of the situation and I don't know what's going to happen, but he's got it.
Right.
He's got it and I don't need to worry about it. Like, I had a worrisome moment. I had a like breakdown moment, but it's in his hands now. So he's got it handled.
Yes.
And I don't know. It was just amazing.
That's amazing. And I kind of want to add to that where whenever we're going through a situation, there is moments that we want to ask God, like, please change the situation. Please change the person. Please, like, you know, but at the same time, we kind of have to think that everything's a process. And maybe change that prayer to like help me
Get through
it. Let me be the one to change, you know, before my circumstance. Because sometimes what needs to change is you before the situation can change.
Yes.
You know, so that's why I want to open up those conversations with God where ask him to change you first. Because what if you need to be, what if you have to have a different perspective of the situation, and that's why God can't, you know, answer that prayer because he's like, you're not ready for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's why kind of like, you know, put that into perspective. Like, does my situation need to change or do I need to change? You know, so I feel like, you know, talk to God about that, you know, and that, cause like, at least like in my situation, just like you said, like it's literally out of my control. Like, I can't do anything about it. Only literally this situation, only God has his timing. Only God has his hand over it. And I literally can't do nothing as a human. So now that, you know, you just mentioned that, and now that even I said this, I'm also telling it to myself. I feel like whenever we're, you know, doing this podcast, I don't know about you, Crystal, but sometimes it ministers to me as well. And even when I'm editing the video, I'd be like, oh yes, that's good. And like sometimes whenever we laugh, I'm laughing as well while I'm editing. So
you're a host and a viewer.
Yes, I'm a host and a viewer, exactly. And so in this situation, now I have to realize like, oh, I need to change. Oh, I need to learn from this situation. I need to grow from this situation, because if I see, because I feel like that would be kind of like, if you want to know when you need to be the one to change, is because it's out of your control.
Yes.
I feel like that's a perfect example. Like, okay, so I can't do nothing about it, but what I can control is myself.
Yes.
And how I view it, and how I speak into it, and how I handle it. And there is moments where I haven't handled it the best way. Why? Because obviously I'm still human and my emotions still get the best of me.
And it's a process. Like, you're not going to get it the first time.
Yeah, it's not going to be from like day to night. And so, but it's so beautiful that even though I haven't been perfect through it, God still gives me the mercy and the privilege to still be like, okay, you messed up, but we still got tomorrow.
We're
going, you know, like he's still holding on to me. He's still picking me up, and he's still giving me that privilege, because he could just leave me there, and he doesn't. And so that is so beautiful, because his love is too great, and his love is too great for me to be like, well, you know what, I give this up. Like, no, like I just start to think back of all the things that he has done for me, and I'm like, I can't let that go. You know?
And there's also, like, from yesterday's preaching, he was like, there's a time where you thank God for the situation.
Right. Yes.
Because you know that it's going to make you stronger.
Yes.
And it's crazy, because that's what I did. Like, I was bawling, and I was sad, and I was crying, and all the emotions, but I was like, thank you.
Yes.
I was like, thank you, because I know that you're building me.
Yes.
You know?
And then I feel like I actually was going to ask you that, you know, I want, because like, since this video or this episode is just focusing on like prayer in a prayer life, I want to create another episode that emphasize that, like that emphasize that the dysfunction, that the bad is necessary in our life for a bigger purpose, for a purpose that we can't see. Because I feel like it involves also the Bible study that I gave whenever we were going to hang out for First Gen. So I kind of wanted to like talk to people, you know, or talk to in this in the podcast, so you can see that the dysfunction or whatever we're going through is necessary for a bigger purpose. And then that's whenever you get to be like, wow, like, praise God, because now I see that it is necessary for sometimes for our lives or for someone else. You know. But to continue on with prayer, I did like this point that they did here where it's called the Lord's Prayer. So if you kind of want to have, like, if you be like, oh, I just really don't know, or like, how can I get deeper? This is, I feel like, a perfect way. So the first thing you can do is start worshiping. You know, one of the things that me and Crystal like to do is put worship music while we're praying. So we can even put some like songs of lists. We can put it in our Instagram, like in our story, and we can even create like a highlight. Like we can have like songs for you. Like if you don't know what songs, or you don't even know what radio stations, because I remember
songs to cry to.
Yes, songs to cry to. So we'll put that. So make sure to follow us in our Instagram so you guys can see all of the list, our playlist that we have. That will be perfect to just, because I feel like everyone has like that song that just takes you to heaven, you know.
But no, and then there's times where I'm praying and there's like a random, not a random song, you know, but a song, and the words are perfect
Yeah.
for the like everything that's
yeah,
going
for the
on.
atmosphere, for God's presence to flow.
And it's like it never hit that deep before.
And then also it helps you to worship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's like a perfect way. If you want to like start up with just worshiping, you know, either sing along with that song, just
Yeah.
saying, God, you know, you're amazing, you're such a big God, or you're such a marvelous God, you know, and then going, you know, going with that transition, you can do a prayer for yourself. So, you know, start praying for yourself, you know, asking for wisdom, asking for strength. But when it comes to strength and when it comes to patience, I do want to emphasize those two things, that whenever you start asking for those, he would definitely help you develop them. So for those
No wonder I'm always praying for strength, and I'm always
going through the fire.
trenches.
Yes. Because, you know, in order for us to gain strength, we have to go through it. You know what I mean? We have to go through it. We have to develop that strength. It's kind of like working out. How are you going to get stronger if you're working out? If you're doing something uncomfortable, if you're doing something that's going to hurt you because you get sore the next day, you know? And that's the same thing with life. In order for you to develop that strength, you have to be uncomfortable, and sometimes you have to go through pain. And then also with patience, it's the same thing. You know, God is definitely going to bring someone that's going to push your buttons.
He's going to put a slow driver right in
front of you on the fast lane going 65. And you have to learn how to develop that, you know, patience and that compassion. So that's why I wanted to emphasize those two things, because some people get discouraged when praying for those two things. So that's what we want to let you know.
No, like, but it's good.
Yeah, it's like good. It's a good thing. Like like don't think like, oh, this is something like, no, like we
had a preaching on Sunday, and it was a guest speaker, and he was talking about how the buffalo faces problems head on.
Yeah. Oh yes,
you know,
did that,
and I feel like that's good.
Yes,
like it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna get through it quicker, and you're gonna come out stronger. You know, like instead of trying to go around or like running away, you know, like face it head on and get through it. You know, like it's gonna be fine. God's right there.
Exactly. And like with me, I like to do things that scare me so they won't be scary anymore, because I already like did them, you know. And then another thing, point is pray for others. Yes. So once you already pray for yourself, start praying for others, your family members, co-workers, friends, you know, your significant other, whatever the case may be, start praying for others. And then you can start praying for spiritual warfare. So for those who don't know, we actually made an episode, which is episode 9. Go check it out if you want to know what spiritual warfare is, and then and knowing how real it is. So you can start praying for that. So that can be either you can start rebuking the spirit of anxiety, of depression, of a bad mood, of stress, of frustration, of whatever you went through that day, right? And then from there, you can start praying the scriptures. So you can either pray the scriptures or you can read the scriptures at the end. So this is the Lord's Prayer. So it's just kind of like a format or ways for you to be able to just kind of go deeper, and then also have like a format, you know, because obviously, like I said, there's no right or wrong way to pray, but there is a better way to pray, and then also there's a way to pray deeper. And I feel like if you do the Lord's Prayer, that will open the door for God to go in, and then that will make that connection even deeper. So we'll be putting them through points. So, you know, just in case if I went too fast, we'll have them in the screen so you guys can be able to see it, and then, you know, take notes onto that, and then you're going to start seeing the tremendous blessing that comes from that.
And I feel like the small like daily prayers are good, but I heard a podcast, and he was like, it's good to talk to God all the time, you know, but to pray deeper, like that's even like there's better ways to pray. Like no, it's not wrong to pray like the small prayers, and like that's good, and it's encouraged, and I encourage you to do it, you know, include him in your everyday life, you know, but there's deeper ways. And that's what you were saying, you know, like if you want to seek him deeper, which I feel like that is what my goal is for this podcast, you know, seek him deeper. There's so much more to God than what is put out there, you know. So if you want to go deeper, if you want to build more, you know, like go deeper into prayer. and it's going to be
Yes.
life changing.
And I feel like prayer would be the perfect way for God to tell you who he is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes we depend so much on human to tell us who God is, or sometimes we let human to be that representation, that's why they're like, just we mentioned, there's church hurt, or people just want to disconnect from the belief because they're like, oh, is that who God is? If this person is hurting me, no, that's not who God is. So that's why prayer is a way for you for God to be the one to show you who he is.
Yes, and it's true. I saw something that said that it says we're not called to be like other Christians. We're called to be like Christ.
Yes.
Because we are literally human, and there might be a day where I don't represent, there is days where I don't represent Christ well, you know?
Right.
But if your eyes are on God, then that's not going to shake you. You know, if you have a strong foundation, then that's not going to shake you.
Yes.
And I feel like that's why Christianity is mocked a lot, because we're imperfect people, like, and they want to hold us to this standard of like perfection when we cannot. We're always going to fall short.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
because we are not perfect. We can't do it. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, they're hypocrites, or like, you know, and it's like, well, no, but if you would build or try to build a relationship, you know, you would see things differently.
Yes, exactly. And then transitioning to that, there is the acts prayer. So it is, adoration would be like adoring, and then confession would be, you know, God, I did something wrong, can you help me with it? And then thanksgiving is just thanking God for all the blessings that he has given. So I kind of just want to focus on like those three things for right now. And then, you know, that can also help you out to just kind of like express more. Just like I said, confessing to God is such a perfect way for him to take off that burden, because that's what prayer does. It's freeing. He wants to take that veil off your eyes. He wants to take that weight off of you. And for you to do that is by giving it to him. And then I actually just came into mind that Philip, he actually sent me, he sent me a reel that it was this pastor that he was preaching, I want to say maybe about prayer, I can't remember exactly, but he was saying that most of us, when we go to church or just pray in general, we, you know, pour out, you know, like, let's say that this is my burden, like right here, this is my burden. We go to the altar, we go to our prayer room, we give it to God, you know, we're done, you know, we wiping down the tears, whatever, and then we take it back. We grab it and then we take it back. So it's just kind of like, what was all that for? You know, you had the Holy Spirit, you know, you were jumping, you were crying, whatever the situation was. But yet after it, you're like, and you just grab it, take it back. So it's just kind of like, you know, we have
guilty.
I'm guilty as well. I was like, wow, that is powerful, because sometimes we don't realize it, that's true, you know, but we have to learn that prayer, once you give it to God, just leave it there. But it's going to be a process, because, you know, we still go through it, you know.
And I feel like that relates to my week last week. This week. Mm-hmm. How I was like, I gave it to God and I feel like I wanted to grab it again, but I'm like, no. Like, stay over there. But also like, God doesn't, like, he's fighting the battle for you, you know, like, you don't have to do it alone.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what the devil tries to make you think, like, oh, you're all alone, like, how are you going to get through this? Like, you can't do it, you know, but you're not alone, and the battle is already won, you know, and you need to keep that mentality, like, God has the victory, you know.
And then also another thing that I want to emphasize is that this is for those that want to go the extra mile. So I can't read the Bible verse because we don't have any connection in this area, but I will put it in the screen. So pretty much is that, you know, a good time to have that really good connection with God is praying. Is that the time that Jesus went to go pray was at 5 a.m. Yes. So it was in the break of dawn. Now I think it's kind of coming to me, but point is that a good prayer is also a sacrificial prayer, because sometimes, like, it's good to have those moments, you know, like I said, whenever you wake up, midday, whatever your time is, that's a good time. Like, don't think like, oh, then it's not good. No, it's 100% good enough. But since we are apostolics, we want to follow Jesus' example, and his, you know, prayer time was at 5 a.m.
Sheesh.
Yes. And for me, that's a huge sacrifice because I love my sleep. But God has been tugging in my heart. Have I done it? Right now, I haven't done it. So don't think like, oh, no, I haven't done it. But God has already presented it to me where it's like, I want to do now a sacrificial prayer.
You know what? I feel like there's times where he literally wakes me up at like 4 a.m.
Oh, that is. Yeah.
And I just roll over.
Yes. Yeah,
that's bad.
Yeah.
I should be praying.
Yeah. So that's also another thing. Good thing you mentioned it. But sometimes there's gonna be moments where like you're gonna be waking up, let's say, like you said, like at 4 every single day. It just happens to be 4. Sometimes God wants to talk to you at like during that time, because either one or two things. He wants a sacrificial prayer, and because he has something for you, he is preparing you because something's coming, or because you didn't have enough time throughout the day. So he wakes you up.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So those 3 things
that
take it
makes
into
me
consideration.
feel a little bad. I literally just I know, yeah, but I feel like
but still, there has been moments where that happens to me, and then like I'm really tired or I have to wake up super early, and I'm like, Jesus, I love you, amen.
I feel like I feel like in the moment I know, like I'm like it's not a coincidence, but I just roll over.
Yeah.
The flip.
Yeah, the flesh. That's a fasting. Good thing we already had that episode. So if that happens to you guys, wake up, try to see what God is trying to tell you at the middle of the night.
Be better than me.
Yes, be better than us, guys. But so you see, guys, the importance of prayer, all of the benefits, and the biggest benefit is just having that close relationship with God.
The intimacy,
yes, getting to that intimate place with God. But I feel like with this, hopefully you guys got an understanding of the importance of prayer. Hopefully you guys, took this as a way of like how to better your prayer life, to get deeper with God. And like I said, there's no right or wrong way, but there is a better way to be able to connect with God. Just like in anything, whatever you do, you can always do it better. And why not then getting closer with God, right? But I feel like that is it from me. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I feel like you should make it a goal to try, like when you come to God, it's like intimate, like it's like you're excited to talk to him, it's not like a awkward or like I don't know what to say, but make it like a goal to like when you start talking to him, you can just rant to him, Yes. I feel like I had to learn that this week because I was just coming to him with everything, and I feel like sometimes we want to talk to other people, but these other people, like they might repeat it, they might give you not your favorite advice or stuff like that, but God doesn't. And it should be like it's my goal, to make it like like I need you right now, like make it intimate so like you can come to him and like it's like a whole relationship, because like that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
And when we're leaving, when he comes and takes his people, like does he know you or does he not?
Exactly. And that's a perfect way for God to know who you are, is by prayer. That's how you introduce yourself. That's how you tell him about you. So I feel like prayer is a perfect way for God to be like, oh, that's my daughter, that's my son. But if there's no prayer life, if there's no intimacy, he will be like, I never knew you. And that is the worst place for any of us to be at. We want God, because like I feel like prayer is a good thing for us, for God to be with us and us with God. So so just going deep with God, have that moment of intimacy, and don't make it repetitive. Don't make it just something to check off your list. Just let it be something that you need, just like food and water, something that's joyful to you, and you will see all of the benefits, all of the blessings that God has in store specifically for you.
Yes. And the more that you keep praying, the easier it is,
definitely.
Because I feel like at first it's kind of, but the more that you keep doing it, and it's like, it's literally like your best friend, you know?
Yeah, your best friend. That's true. But yeah, I think that'll be it. Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us in our on all of our social medias, TikTok, Instagram. Make sure to subscribe here in our YouTube channel. Leave any comments down below. Like this video, share this video, and then also for our audio only listeners, we have Spotify and we also have Apple Podcast. And also, if you want to see all of the Bible verses, tune into YouTube so you can see all of the Bible verses we're going to present here on the screen. But like I mentioned, thank you so much for the support. We love you guys. We're praying for any person that's viewing this, and that will be all for today's episode. So bye guys.